Tonight, we're going to talk about Halloween. Everybody say Halloween. It's like a week, 6 days from tonight. We will just be finishing our pumpkin bash at 7 o'clock. We'll be dropping the pumpkin at 7 o'clock around that time. We'll have thousands, seriously, probably thousands of children here that night. To my knowledge, we'll be the only one in the area doing something like this on Halloween night. So we're really excited about God giving us an opportunity to love in our community, to provide a fun place, a safe place to hang out, to enjoy each other, enjoy family. But honestly, Halloween is not my favorite holiday. It never has been. It's not one that I've just loved. I don't know if it has something to do with the way I was raised, but we're going to talk about what the Bible has to say a little bit about Halloween. But let me just clarify here. The Bible doesn't say Halloween is necessarily bad, okay? Because Halloween is something that's come up in the last 150 years. But it does say a lot to what Halloween can be about and to what many people believe Halloween is about. So we're going to talk, kind of scratch. Y'all like that? Do it again? We're going to scratch the surface of what Halloween means, and basically what the Bible says in regards to what Halloween can be for a lot of people, okay? So, but let me ask you, don't answer out loud, but do you consider it wrong to celebrate Halloween? Don't answer, just think. Is it a sin to make a big deal out of Halloween? I said this earlier, it's not my favorite Halloween or holiday because growing up, there was like skin on the thing right there for my fingers. But growing up, my parents wouldn't let us go trick-or-treating. Like I literally went one time as a child. You're all like, oh, that's why you're messed up, Brother Matt. Because I didn't do it. Man, my dad was very strict. Y'all also know that on Sundays, I didn't go outside to play. He wouldn't let me. He was like, the Sunday's a day of rest. It's a day we go to church and you rest. And we needed the rest. You need the rest. Now Sunday's just another day a week. When we were kids, nothing was open on Sundays, was it? Stores, gas, you could barely get gas. Now everything's open 24/7. But on Halloween, because of my dad's strong conviction of that Halloween was celebrated as a day of death and demons and the enemy and stuff like that, we didn't dress up. Except for 1 year, because my neighbor, her name was Terry O'Fish, it's kind of a cool name, begged and begged and begged and begged and begged, begged, said, please, just let them come to my house. They won't dress up like demons or anything bad. Just let them dress up, come to my house, I'll give them some candy, please. Beg. We begged, Mom, Dad, please. One time, and this is what I looked like on that Halloween of 1982, I think it is. Yeah, that's my little brother Mark. Isn't he cute, the little clown? I'm the Hunchback of Notre Dame. You like that? I think I was in second grade. I think that's right. That's my sister, and she was supposed to be Raggedy Ann. Y'all know Raggedy Ann? We were so poor, y'all. We literally stuffed a pillow up my shirt to look like a Hunchback of Notre Dame. And that's a polyester suit my brother wore with lipstick on his face, looked like a clown. But yeah, that was the only time I ever celebrated Halloween as a child. And we're going to talk about this because you're at the age where I think a lot of times you just let the things of Halloween go right over your head. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but we're going to talk some more about that here, okay, just a second. I'm going to read to you some things I read online because there are some places even in our country, but definitely in the world, where Halloween is a blatant, wicked, evil, demonic celebration. And I think it's good for us, all of us, to think a little harder, a little more deeper into what you do, what you dress up as, or where you go, and what you participate in when it comes to Halloween. Now, I want you to listen to me. This is a little bit of personal opinion, but it's biblical. But I want you to think about the things you do say and become and participate in on Halloween. Because Halloween and the couple days before and a couple days after, all over the world, are universally considered days of worship of the dead, offering sacrifices, conjuring spirits, places where the placing of curses on people. And I'm not talking about just movies. I'm talking about real life curses and conjurings and offering of sacrifices. And I'm not saying that because I'm a preacher. And I've read that somewhere. It happens all the time. I read where this is an affluent or wealthy English neighborhood where there was an active group of witches who every year would celebrate Halloween by cutting the heads off of animals and throwing the animals in Christians' yards. And it still happens like today. And it's like the Christians like, well, it's Halloween. We're going to go outside and pick up dead animals out of our yard because they're just used to it every year as a way of celebrating and worshiping death and wickedness. So there's lots of evil things that regularly happen on Halloween. There's blood rituals. There's animal torture, sacrifice. There's literal satanic worship. There's divination. There's all kind of, and I'm not exaggerating. Like I said, it's real, and it happens, and it's not a laughing matter. So don't you think that it would please God for all of us Jesus followers here tonight to say, not me? Everybody say, not me. Not me. I'm not doing it, okay? I'm not going to allow my mind, my eyes to participate in and partake in evil things, wicked things, demonic activity at Halloween, but any time of the year, but especially Halloween. I believe it would please God. I believe it could be a huge difference in your personal life, your personal walk with God, if you would say, not me. When it comes to your friends saying, hey, let's go watch this horror movie where there's demonic stuff. And I mean, there's commercials on TV now for these movies, and I'm like last night I was like, Molly, look away. I don't want her seeing this stuff. It comes on TV. And I want to say a few things to remind you, but I know you've seen the commercials, right? Raise your hand if you've seen the demonic commercials of the Halloween movies, okay? They're awful. And I think I want to encourage you to say, not me. Not me when all my friends are saying, let's go to the haunted house, let's get scared out of our mind. Let's dress up as a bunch of witches or demonic, nasty, terrible, wicked things. No, not me. I'm not doing it. I think it would please God if we would take that stand as Christians, as Jesus followers. Tonight I want to encourage you, again, to listen, to have an open mind, open heart. Don't think I'm coming down on you. I'm not saying, you dirty, rotten, stinking sinners, you're all going to hell because you went to haunted house. Guess who went to haunted house when he was your age, okay? When my parents didn't know it, I went to haunted house. In college, I went to one, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. Because I'm telling you, inside my heart, my spirit was like, this ain't good. I'm talking like demonic, evil, wicked things. I'm like, yeah. And all my friends were like, let's go again. I'm like, no, y'all, I ain't doing it. I just didn't like it. I'm not saying I was godly. I just didn't want to participate in that kind of stuff. And I wish I never did. So I just want you to know that this is a way that the enemy can enter into your life in a way that can leave marks, leave memories, leave things in your heart, in your mind, in your eyeballs that you can never get rid of if you, you can, the Lord can, but that are hard to get rid of. So I challenge you, encourage you, to motivate you to be more like Jesus, not like the world. That's why we're here tonight, okay? So we got one verse tonight. Now look at your handout. It's 1 Thessalonians 5:22. It's 6 words, okay? It says, abstain from every form of evil. 6 words. Everybody say it with me. Abstain from every form of evil. Say it again. Abstain from every form of evil. Look at your handout. Say it with me again. Abstain from. All right. The NIV, which is the New International Version, translates that word to reject. The New Living Translation says stay away from. So abstain, it means to reject, to stay away from. It literally means to hold back, to be distant from. And when I'm doing some of these studies sometimes, I think it's important, and it helps me because I'm challenged, y'all know that, to look at words and look at the antonyms. Like, what's an antonym? Okay, they listen in school, mom and daddies. It took me like 2 years out of college to remember what an antonym was. But an antonym is the opposite. So look at your hand out there. The opposite of abstain is to accept, to grant, to admire, to like, to allow, or welcome. So when it comes to this direct command from God to abstain from evil, do you understand what God's saying here? God's telling us, it's like he's saying, don't accept, don't grant, don't admire, don't allow, or like, or welcome evil. You're like, well, yeah, I know that. I mean, I don't intentionally do that stuff, but we do. I want to make sure you understand that, because I believe many of us completely ignore this verse when it comes to things of Halloween. And I'm not really sure why. It's like we're numb. Everybody say numb. That's how I feel right here, because my head's like all numb right now. I feel like all my ears all numb because of medicine. But we're numb to the demonic influences around Halloween because it's just like no big deal. Everybody else is doing it. All around us is wickedness, and it's just like we're numb to that. I think it's time for us to say, not me. Say it, not me. Not me. Okay? Even though our friends are doing it, our schools sometimes encourage it, our neighborhoods encourage it, people we're around, even our families sometimes encourage it, everyone else, it doesn't mean that God accepts it, God welcomes it, and we should not do the same, okay? All right, so on your handout there, as I was thinking through this, I was thinking about abstaining. And I guess because I was thinking about that picture maybe, but as a kid, you're told not to do certain things, and you're told to do certain things. Maybe I'm just old school. Have you ever been told, maybe you don't remember, but as a kid, don't run with scissors? Okay. So mom and dad said, don't run with scissors, right? And for me, don't drink poison. I mean, you never heard that before. I said that in the office today. They're like, don't drink poison. Your parents said that? I think when I was a kid, for some reason, and I looked this up, in 1970, our government had passed this mandate where they have to put chemicals in a certain container that kids can't get into and label it as poison. I remember the skull and crossbones meant it's poison. I mean, evidently some kid in California drank a bottle of Windex or something. I don't know. But since 1970, they had to label things as poison. So my parents freaked out. I was born in 74. They're like, hey, don't drink poison. I'm like, I don't know. It's weird, but that's just in my brain, okay? What else did they say? They don't talk to strangers. You ever heard that from mom and daddy? Stranger danger, right? Okay? These are things our parents told us not to do. Well, why did they tell us these things? Well, they didn't want us to have any fun in life. No, that's not why. They told us these things because these things can cause pain. They can cause loss. They can cause suffering. You run with a pair of scissors. If you fall and trip, I mean, it literally happened to my dad's, I think it was my dad's brother. I'm not sure if it was his dad. I'm not sure. But ran with scissors, it went through his jaw. Scissors. Right there, yeah. It's awesome. My dad's dead, or I was going to call him today, but he's been dead for several years. I couldn't call him. I could have called my mom and asked her if she'd wish me, but he's in heaven, though. So anyway, don't run with scissors. And that's why, not because they cause pain and it cause loss, they cause suffering. Why? They tell us these things to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep us healthy. Not to keep us from having any fun. And that's why our God tells us these things. He says, abstain from every form of evil because he loves you. He knows what's best for you, and he wants you to enjoy the life he's given you, to glorify him, not the enemy. Okay? But listen, he didn't say, I will keep you from evil, did he? He said, I'll keep you from evil. No. Abstain from it. He wants you to do the action. And actually, Jesus said in Sermon on the Mount, or the prayer, right? The Lord's Prayer. And keep us, help me. That part, I forgot. Like him, like on the wood down, give us the day bread. Lead us not to today, but deliver us from evil, right? Jesus prayed, deliver us from evil. Okay? But we have to participate in that. We have to be, it's an action verb. Abstain is a verb, right? Y'all know that verbs are actions. And as children of God, we must take action, decide now, not me, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to participate in evil stuff. Not me, I'm not putting myself in a position or in a place to be exposed to evil things. As children of God, we have to put our foot down and say, I'm not doing that stuff. I had a friend today tell me. Today. He didn't know, well, yeah, he did know I was talking about this. But he said, I was asked to be a part of this haunted house. And I was like, no, man, I don't think I need to do that. Put his foot down. He wasn't a jerk about it. He said, no, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, put your foot down. It's time to stand up for what you know God has told you to do or not do. All right, so look at your hand out there. Abstain from what? Every form of evil. Okay? Say it with me. Abstain from every form of evil. So first of all, let's look at some other scriptures that kind of help us with that. First of all, the Bible says in 1 John 1, 5 and 6, God is light. Let me read the whole passage to you. It says, this is the message we have heard from him and proclaimed to you, John says, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Now, if we say we have fellowship with God or with him while we walk in darkness, we lie. We do not practice the truth. Wait a minute, what? Yeah. You're a liar, God says, if you say you know Jesus and you walk in darkness. Well, I don't really walk in darkness. I just like to go to a horror movie every once in a while, Brother Matt. Is it that bad? Jesus says right there. I'm just saying. Let the word speak for itself. So, listen, we have an enemy, and our enemy is good at what he does. He loves Halloween. I was telling the praise band earlier, I read this quote from the leader of the Satanic Church, and I don't have it memorized, obviously, but he's something to the effect of, I love the fact that I can convince Christians to worship Satan at least one day of the year. This is the leader of Satanic Church. He said, I'm glad that I can convince even Christians to worship Satan one day of the year. The devil, he's good at it. He's a liar. He's a deceiver. He's a murderer. John 8:44 says this. Now Jesus was talking to some wicked men at first, but he related them to the devil. He says, you are of the father of the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. Talking about the devil. He, the devil, was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he, the devil, lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. He's talking about Satan. He's talking about the devil. The devil, he's good at what he does. And he wants us as Christians especially, because he's already got lost people. They're already going to hell. But if he can convince you Christians to to not follow after Christ, to be like the world, he can keep you from reaching more and more and more and more people for the kingdom of God. I drove by a house today. We were going to, Trey and I were going to Earl Trent. And this is on my mind and stuff. And as we're driving the road, I popped this turn. I was like, oh my, what? So when we came back by it, I gave Trey my phone, and he videoed this thing. And I want you to look at this. This is thousands. I hope this ain't none of y'all's home. This is thousands of dollars of evil, wicked. Keep going. Do a little loop for me. And pause it here in a second. All right, stop. Okay, we got to stop. Can you stop it? No, probably not. Okay. We got a ghoul. We got a skeleton. We got witches. We got goblins and spiders aren't necessarily bad. Poison stuff. What is that evil thing? I don't want to put these in a headless, whatever that is, and a butcher with blood. I mean, come on. Thousands of dollars of evil. Go ahead, get that off the screen, please. I hate that stuff. Thank you, Damon. But all that says, I was like, I can't believe. I saw another video on Instagram, a reel that this lady was like in Home Depot or Lowe's or somewhere, and I was going to try to pull it up too, but she's like, all right, Christians, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but this burdens my heart because of all this stuff. And she pulls her phone out, and I'm talking like it's from this wall of any type of demonic, evil, wicked, nasty, devilish stuff. I haven't been to Home Depot and Lowe's. Have y'all here? Do we have that stuff here? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That stuff should not be a part of our Christian lives. I'll look at another passage in Ephesians 5, verse 7 through 11. It says this: therefore, do not become partakers with them. He's saying them, meaning disobedient people, lost people, people that don't follow Jesus. For at one time you, Christians, were darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of light is found in all that is good and right and true. And try to discern, we're going to talk about that in a minute, and try to discern what is pleasing to the Lord. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. He says, at one time you were darkness, but now you're light. Walk as children of light. Things that are good, true, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy. Okay? These things are of God. We are children of light, not children of darkness. So we need to live like it and act like it. And so the world looks at us and says, we stand for Jesus. We stand for what's right and light and good, pure. He says, try to discern. The word discern means to find out or to determine. To determine. Okay, what pleases God. Seek after, try to figure out, okay, does this please God or not? And if you are, by the way, look at me. If you're ever in a crossroads, I'm talking like, here's a decision I have to make that way or that way. Do you think God might want to help you make that decision? I think he does. I think at that very moment, you just say, God, what honors you? Would it please you if I go that way or that way? Literally in a drive or make a decision, that decision or that decision. Ask God, say, God, what pleases you? Give me a discerning heart to find your will. Your perfect will for my life, and I'll trust you. I'll go in that direction. God will lead you. God will help you. God will assist you. So he tells us to discern or try to figure out or determine what pleases him. This passage also tells us to take no part, or stay away from unfruitful works of darkness. Horror movies, don't watch them. Haunted houses, don't go. YouTube wicked videos, don't click them. Okay? It's just abstain. I think that's very clear to me. I don't see why there's any argument with that. So, and I feel bad kind of heaping this on you guys. I don't want y'all to, I'm not trying to condemn you, okay? I'm just trying to encourage you to think through this stuff at Halloween. So if it doesn't please God, abstain from it. If you couldn't take Jesus into that haunted house, don't do it, okay? If you couldn't take Jesus to sit down and watch that movie with you, don't. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 20 and 21 says this. Again, just to give you some context, Paul's explaining these things to this church that they were kind of dabbling in idolatry. The church was like thinking it wasn't that big of a deal to eat food that was sacrificed to pagan gods. They're like, what's still food? And Paul's like, whoa, let's back off a little bit. And he says this, he says, no, I imply that what pagans sacrifice, they offer to demons and not to God. He says, I do not want you to be participants with demons. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord, talking about the Lord's Supper, and the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the table of the Lord and the table of demons. It just doesn't work, right? Simple, plain, right there, point. If that's not enough scripture for you, let me real quick. Jesus said this in John 8:12. He says, I'm the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not, everybody say will not, walk in darkness. If you're following Jesus, you can't walk in darkness. You can't do it. It doesn't work. In John 3:20, y'all know in John 3:16, most famous verse in the Bible, right? I wish that piece of candy to give somebody. Who was Jesus talking to in John chapter 3, 16 and so? You don't know? Do y'all know? Good job. He's talking to a guy named Nicodemus, who was the Pharisee who came to Jesus at night because didn't want anybody to know he was asking Jesus questions, and Jesus shared the gospel with him. He left, but later on in life, he repented and turned, and he was actually helped Joseph of Arimathea wrap Jesus' dead body and put him in his tomb. So basically all that to say is he's speaking this to a very smart man, okay, very, very, very smart man, Nicodemus. And he says this to him, he says, in John 3:20, for everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works be exposed, or should be exposed. But whoever does what is true comes to the light so that it may be clearly seen that his works have been carried out in God. And you're like, well, I know none of y'all hate God. I know none of y'all hate Jesus. But whenever you participate in dark, evil things, whenever you open your mind up and your heart up and your life up and your eyes up to evil, dark, wicked things, it's as if you hate God. That's what Jesus is saying. You might as well just say, I hate you, God, because I'm turning away from your holiness and your love and your perfection, and I'm going to look at and expose my mind and my heart and my eyeballs to this wicked, evil, terrible, demonic thing. So it's time for us to put our foot down when it comes to stuff like this and say, not me, I'm not doing it. Okay?